Hey, 60.1. All right, about 14 years ago, you were engaged. And you called me up, or you wanted to get engaged, and you called me up because I know jewelry to get some help in finding a ring. And we decided...
This is an ambush. I didn't expect this kind of personal revelation.
No, this is what makes our show juicy.
What does this have to do with Trump?
All right, we're getting
Now
there.
we're talking about my personal life.
I'm like Rachel Maddow. It'll take me like a little bit to circle back around to the topic.
All right, just don't move your hand, Jim
Okay,
boy.
all right. So we settled on a ring with a sapphire in the middle and diamonds on the side. It's a classy look. It's a little unusual. It's what Princess Di had, I think. And not the cheapest ring in the world.
Except my fiance was better looking.
Okay. Now, it's 15 years later, 14 years. I'm on eBay shopping for shit. Because I'm amazed at what shit costs on eBay, especially if it comes from China. So I find this ring, and it's pretty much like...
Don't move your hand.
I got to move the ring. I got to show the ring.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so you're going to want to get close on this ring.
Good. Let's see. Put it on the light though. Actually, back it up.
Okay, so this ring, it's got a center stone, about 3.5 carats. It's got, 3 diamond-looking things on each side. It's sparkly. It's a good-looking ring. At first glance, unless you're a jeweler,
Bring it forward a little bit.
okay, you won't think it's crap.
Now bring it. Yeah, I know.
All right, so,
Move it back a little bit.
okay, got this ring from China for $1.56. This ring that would have cost you maybe 1,000 times more 14 years ago, I get from China for $1.50. Shipping included. And you can find this ring on from multiple sellers, all for $1.56. Which means that somebody in China is wholesaling it to retailers in China for about 78 cents. Somebody is able to put this ring together in China for less than 80 cents and make a profit. And this is a problem for us in America. All right, I'm going to ask you, how many cities in China do you think have more than 1 million people?
And I'm going to say that what I know is that they have many cities in China that have over 6 million people. That they have lots of cities that have 8 million people in it.
They have probably 15 cities in China that have more than 8 million people.
Exactly, which is, by the way, roughly the population of New York or London.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with this figure. I'm gonna say a lot.
A lot is the right area. You don't want to say a number.
Okay.
As of last year, May of 2017, China had 102 cities with 1 million or more people. And by 2025, they will have more than 220 cities with 1 million people. In the 1960s, there was the Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao, where he told people to go out into the countryside, that he and his wife, both of them assholes, decided that educated people were the problem. And all the educated people got sent out into to shitty farms where they maybe lived or they maybe didn't, right? It was a terrible time.
Okay.
Tens of millions of people died. Right? You know that shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a terrible thing.
Now China has reversed that. And right now, 56% of China lives in cities, and their target for 2020 is to get 60% of Chinese in cities. And they have a shitload of cities. And what they do in cities is industry and manufacturing. And they can do it really efficiently. The combination of capitalism, which they've let loose among their people, plus what started off as a communist, socialist government, means they won't hesitate to like mess around with huge policy changes, the way a socialist, top-down directed economy would. So they've got a lot of economic power. Plus they cheat. They devalue the yen, et cetera. But we are not going to be able to make this ring for 80 cents in America. I think, here's my whole argument. I think we need to concentrate on what we're good at, which is being the most kick-ass place in the world to live and to develop a business. And be welcoming to the most talented people in the rest of the world, because we have roughly, 4 1/3% of the world's population. For every American, there are 23 people in other countries. And so our top 1%, whatever you're measuring, say it's brains somehow, we have 3 million people. The rest of the world has 73 million top 1%ers. So I think one of our strengths is that people have wanted to come here to get educated and to build businesses. I think it does not serve us well. The U.S. has had the most Nobel Prize winners, 350. Of those, 100 of them were foreign born. I just don't think it serves us well to erode our reputation as a kick-ass place to come to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is 23 times as big as America. And we want to poach the rest of the world's talent. And so if we don't have that, if America looks like a crazy place, a corrupt place, a dumb place, then what we turn into is Italy, which 2,000 years ago was the premier civilization, and they poached talent from the known world. But now they're not a place that you would think of, if you wanted to set up an industry. You think of it as a place to go as a tourist and eat great food and see old cathedrals and stuff. I think we're on the way to becoming Italy or Portugal or Spain or Great Britain, countries and civilizations that formerly ruled but now are kind of part of the modern world but not at the very forefront. So, the country being ruled by a clownish, isolationist, nationalist guy, I think doesn't do us any good, especially during a time when change is happening so fast. All right, that's my speech.
Are you trying to engage me in a discussion about immigration again?
Well, it's partly immigration. Not entirely, because I think that you and I don't disagree severely about making some provision to let talented people into America. Oh, there's also India has 29 states, the way America has 50 states. India is building a science city in each state, 29 science cities. I don't know exactly what a frickin' science city is, but it sounds like a place where they want to do science. Space Force, yeah. It's like, these big-ass countries with a combined population 8 times of our population want to have a highly educated, technically proficient population. And I think if we don't emphasize education and attracting the best from the rest of the world. I mean, because there's a large strain. Not every Republican is anti-science, but there's a large. If you wanted to look, at people who don't have a real, good relation. Well, in the whole government, there aren't a lot of deeply scientific people in both parties, but the Republicans are more anti-science than the Democrats.
No, the Democrats are more anti-science.
Well, if we want to keep our place versus these juggernauts that are going to kick our ass scientifically and technically, we need to do stuff to promote America as a place for smart people to get smarter, get more educated, and build businesses. All right, that's my speech. And it doesn't do us any good to have this clowny guy, being clowny for the world.
Okay. One. I'll try and deal with each of your points.
Okay.
One, you could argue that the lack of religiosity has caused the American public to have fewer children. So, I mean, if your concern is that the American public doesn't have enough, there aren't enough Americans, I would say that there are.
Oh, we could have.
You said you were going to let me speak.
All right. Well, all right.
Okay, so you raised an issue that there weren't enough Americans, and you thought that the solution was to bring in people from other countries.
Well, that's not what I said. I didn't say there weren't enough Americans. I said we want to poach the top 1% or top 2% or whatever. We want to poach the best people from the rest of the world.
Well, that's never been a problem. According to studies, 1/3 of the world's population would like to come to live in the United States. So the chances that we're not going to be able to get good minds into the United States is a fantasy on your part. The second thing is, you mentioned the fall of Rome. Rome didn't fall because of not having enough immigration. Rome actually fell, they argue, because it had too much immigration.
Well,
By the end of don't interrupt me, by the fall of the Roman Empire, the Roman army was composed, I think, majority of Germans and Spaniards and Gauls and people that weren't ethnically Roman and didn't fight as impassioned or as well as the native Romans did. There are a lot of causes for the fall of the Roman Empire, but immigration to Rome was not, if anything, hurt Rome. It didn't help Rome.
yeah, I'm not arguing the causes of the fall of the empire. I'm just saying that right now, 2,000 years later, Italy is a goofy country compared to the empire that it was.
So you're just saying that America could be on a decline unless we have more immigration?
America could be on a decline if we don't do what we can to buttress our technological superiority.
Well, then what you should be happy about is that Trump is supporting NASA in a way that Obama didn't. You should be happy that Trump is building up our military and going ahead with innovations, both with the Space Force and with massively increasing the size of our Navy and new weapons. So if anything, compared to the dismal record of Obama and the Democrats, you should be very happy with Trump's innovations and the policies of science. Moreover, Obama limited fracking, and nuclear power was pretty much wiped out by the Democrats. So nuclear power, fracking, the diminishing of NASA.
We have a bunch of fracking.
But it was not because of Obama. Obama tried to stop it. And the new goals of NASA and the new interest in technology that Trump is going to finance for our military, all of those things are going to help our science and our future in our future technological advancement.
How does Space Force?
Wait, and there's more.
Well, but wait, how does Space Force?
There's more.
Wait.
No, there's more.
No, let's talk about Space Force.
No, you can hold that because you talked for a long time.
Okay, all right.
Now, the other thing that Trump is doing that Obama didn't do is this is actually the Republicans under Marco Rubio. They've decided that they're going to look into the possibility of limiting Chinese students coming to our universities and stealing our science, learning our methods and taking it back to China. Rubio has talked a lot about how we need to change the law, and in this, Trump is supporting him. We need to change the law so that when American companies do business with China, China doesn't get to steal our technology.
I know China steals everybody's shit. My wife had a product that got stolen
but it's
in
the
China.
Republicans, not the Democrats. It is the Republicans that are actually trying to do something about it. So again, you prove yourself to be a Trump supporter week after week.
Well, I mean, there are some dimensions like that can be addressed by. Yeah, it'd be nice if China didn't steal ideas
And
products.
that's what Trump is on about, and that's what Rubio's on about. And they're looking into the many ways that we can control their stealing of intellectual property, and they're merging with American companies, and we're thinking of tightening up the laws, and that's what the trade war is all about. The trade war with China is almost entirely based on them stealing our technology, our intellectual property. So that's another good thing that Trump is doing to help you Democrats.
Yeah, but protecting our innovation is just one dimension in a bigger problem. That if the U.S. doesn't in the 60s, were you in favor of the space race in the 60s?
Yes.
Sputnik goes up, America freaks out because it was a Russian satellite, and then there was all this funding and a push for education.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, that was, Sputnik went up in what, 57? America freaks out.
I don't remember the year.
Well, 57 or 58. And then you and I are the products, because we entered the public school system in 65. We're the product of the push for education. And I don't know, maybe we were educated better than we would have been, maybe more math, more science, if there hadn't been that push. I don't see a similar push for education.
Well, I can tell you that the space race, actually, NASA didn't field any manned explorations under Obama. Obama actually cut back on all of the goals of NASA. NASA is now empowered to go back to trying more ambitious things under Trump.
Well, look at NASA
So
now compared
you should be appreciative of Trump's efforts and disappointed with the timid and destructive nature of Obama's efforts.
Well, the scientific frontier is not, I don't think, in space right now. When NASA was doing all its stuff, Mercury, Gemini, Apollo programs in the 60s into the early 70s, computerization was, the onboard computer on an Apollo
I
ship.
know, it wouldn't fit into your cell phone. Everybody knows that.
Right.
What's your point?
So
we're talking about
the scientific
how much,
frontier is
you
not.
sat there and told me. You sat there and told me that Trump is this clownish person, and then Obama limits NASA, limits fracking, limits nuclear power's gone. Obama does nothing to stop Chinese stealing of our technology. He didn't say one word about it. And Trump is coming in with the Republicans in the Senate and trying to improve all of these things.
All right, if they can do something about China stealing stuff, good.
Okay.
But that's just one dimension. And as far as NASA, you remember every time they launched a ship when we were in school, the whole school gets pulled out of class. We get sat in front of the one or two TVs the school had to watch the launch, right? Did that happen at your schools?
Sometimes you're going to tell me NASA's not as important, but then I'm
No,
going to tell you
the scientific frontier right
Yeah.
now is digital.
Okay, and I'm going to
Which is the
tell
crap we-
and I'm going to tell you. You started by saying science, and all I can do is go where you point me. If you point me at our need to have better science, unfortunately, Lance thinks, well, space exploration, that's science, and Trump's doing more for that than Obama did. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
All right, no, I mean, there's a
it's
thing-
like how can I win in this conversation?
I don't know.
Where
I
do
don't think you
go?
can. I don't think you can
Because
there's a thing called
because as soon as you say something, if I rebut you, if I come up with a concrete example, you just change the subject.
No, I'm still on science.
Oh, digital is more important. Okay, all right.
Or there's a thing
maybe
called-
he's doing shit for digital, but as far as NASA goes, it is Trump's belief that number one,
Because Trump's a big kid.
Trump wants to send a man to Mars, and number two, he wants a space force.
how's
That
Space
the
Force going to
Let
work?
me tell you something.
How's it going to work? What specific things is Space Force going to do?
Space Force is going to have phasers and photon torpedoes. We're going to fight the Borg, and we're going to. All right. No, you know what? You know what's very important? It's the high frontier. What is happening is this. One of the reasons we were afraid of Korea is because even a mediocre nuclear power, if it fired a nuclear weapon above our country, could knock out all of our computers across the country. It's it's the greatest vulnerability that the U.S. has. And they could literally kill, people estimated that if all of our computers stopped working, one bomb could kill millions.
EMP, electromagnetic pulse.
There you go. So Trump is going to do something about that. There's Senate hearings on it right this minute. And Obama, nothing.
Yeah, I'm not sure EMP is the biggest problem in the world. I don't know how big a bomb you'd have to set off, and if North Korea has the technology to get it above us.
Well, it doesn't matter. My point is that Trump's doing something
Well,
about it,
all right.
and the Democrats were just content to let you die.
All right, so there's a thing called the Fermi paradox. During the Manhattan Project, Enrico Fermi is one of the big dog physicists, and they're talking, and somebody asks Fermi, "Where do you think, do you believe in aliens?" And Fermi says, "Well, yeah, if they exist, where are they?" And I would suggest that and nobody knows because we haven't found any yet. And if there are civilizations that are hundreds of thousands or millions of years old, don't you think they would have colonized the galaxy? And now I'm going to talk about how Star Trek and Star Wars and all the frickin' spaceship dramas, all the future of NASA shows are kind of bullshit. Because they all rely on faster than light travel. Because if you can't travel faster than the speed of light, none of those shows work. None of those movies work. None of those universes work. Because maybe one star in 1,000 might contain or might have conditions that are conducive to life as we know it. And the average distance to, one star in 1,000 is about 40 light years. And even going 1/10 the speed of light, which is tough for humans to do, it would take 400 years to get to the closest likely planet. But Star Wars, Star Trek, they're zipping around all these inhabitable and inhabited planets. And they need faster than light travel. And we'll probably never have it. And we certainly won't have it in the next 100 years, 150 years. And so one solution to the Fermi paradox is that the civilizations haven't left signs of themselves because it's just too big a pain in the ass to travel great reaches of the galaxy. And I would suggest that a lot of civilizations have stayed home and just simulated stuff digitally, which is what we're excited about now. People don't give as much of a shit about NASA. Everybody's excited about the shit in their hands, the digital shit in their hands, and in their laps, and on their wrists, and shortly, writing contact lenses. And so one solution to the Fermi paradox is that people stay home, civilizations stay home, and they build hugely complicated digital worlds. And so the edge of science right now, maybe I'll be wrong, maybe in 20 years digital won't be a thing, it'll be some other thing, biotech or whatever. But right now the digital is, the shrinking of circuitry, the building of computational devices that rival the human brain in complexity and density. That's where science is happening.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh, one more thing. Just if you were going to make a Star Trek-y, Star Wars-y show, just make it virtual. And then you can have faster than the speed of light stuff. You have a show, it takes place on a starship, you have human passengers and crew members, but the ship is virtual, using data from the scientific information we're harvesting via telescopes both on Earth and in orbit. And on that ship, on a virtual ship, you can have faster than the speed of light because it's all simulated. That ship can zip all over the place. You can have tourists on there who have, 50 years from now or 100 years from now, when we can rejigger our brains. You could have tourists on there who, for the duration of the flight, have had their realization that it's simulated removed. And, you could have a whole, spacecraft, faster than light spacecraft-based adventure series. It's just that it would be virtual and mostly happening within the brains of the people plugged into the simulation.
So Trump was in England, and he had a press conference, and the CNN guy, what's his name?
Jim Acosta.
He wanted to ask a question, and Trump said, "No, I don't take questions from CNN, fake news." Do you feel that Trump is suppressing First Amendment rights?
It's. I know we're not supposed to normalize Trump, but at this point, it's just Trump. That's well within the envelope of stuff he's pulled, throughout his reign. It's not a fair characterization of the news, but he's going to do it.
Well, I'm really proud of him for doing that because CNN lie about him. They're disgusting. They aren't just biased. They're willing to lie. And I don't have any good examples right this second. I'd have to look up and think about it. But I've heard them lie about him so many times that I'm glad he's just saying, well, to hell with you people.
How much CNN do you watch?
I'll tell you something. On every major issue, I'll take 10 minutes to watch some CNN just to, I don't know. And they're always lying about him. They're disgusting. And you know what? In the past year, since he took office, CNN's viewership has gone down 25%. And I'm glad. I hope it's because he keeps. I hope it's because everyone realizes that they're biased, except for apparently you. And I hope he keeps saying that they're a bunch of assholes. And I'm really glad their viewership goes down, and I hope he keeps it up.
I watch Fox the way you watch CNN. I turn it on for a few minutes until they do something that annoys me, and then I go back to my preferred stations. CNN is not my preferred station. I like MSNBC, and I know they lean liberal, but...
Lean liberal.
Well, they're a liberal, they're a liberal channel. What do you want?
I just want people to tell the truth. And you're not going to get it from CNN because they're a bunch of liars. Anyway, let's talk. I want to talk about the. Unless you wanted to rebut me again and say no, they're really, really honest, and they're. I mean, I don't know what you want to say.
Well,
you want to keep? I'd like to change subjects.
Well, just quickly, because we've gone over this before. I think CNN has a lot of bad habits. I hate that they have like knuckleheads from the right. Like CNN's lineup of Trump advocates, surrogates, are a bunch of doofuses. I don't know if there are less doofusy advocates, but I know they kind of do that. I mean,
I've heard some of them. I heard some of them this week, and I don't remember their names, but they weren't Trump supporters. They were people that are associated with Never Trump. They've written articles about how much they hate Trump.
Well, okay, there are those people.
As far as I can tell,
we're not talking about the same people.
There are no actual supporters of Trump.
Then you're not watching.
CNN.
Then you're not watching enough CNN. And
can you think of anybody? I don't want to put you on the spot because I don't remember everybody's name either. But do you actually know of anybody that supports Trump on CNN?
I don't know. Does Rick Santorum count as a supporter?
Well, he would be fair. He would be fair.
Yeah, but he's kind of a knucklehead in my mind. Then they have the...
So they interview him, but is he a commentator, a regular commentator?
He's on their panels, and their panels are annoying.
Okay, all right, fair
And
enough.
I feel like they're okay with putting knuckleheads on because knuckleheads piss people off. And what's her name who did the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Damn, she's got the show on HBO.
Oh, the one with the funny boys that was talking about oral sex. And
she did a great bit about the New York Times op-ed page, where the point of the whole bit was that the New York Times will put on any crappy editorial as long as it gets clicks. They don't give a crap how ridiculous the editorial is as long as it gets people so worked up that they click around and they share it and go, look at this bullshit. And I feel like CNN does that to some extent. So anyway, that's all I got to say about frickin' CNN.
I have something of substance to say. So it's not, I don't like media about media. So I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the NATO meeting. I was never so proud in my life as when Trump, with the cameras rolling, sat those people at NATO down and said, you are not pulling your weight. You agreed to give 2% of your GDP, and you haven't put it up. And we're spending 4% to defend you, slaggers. And I have always maintained for 20 years that the reason Denmark, the Scandinavian countries have these elaborate medical systems is because they don't have armies. And Trump proved in front of the whole world, he said, you're not paying your share of your military. You've got these tiny little armies. It's not fair. You're depending on us to protect you. And then he went further. He said, and Germany gives billions of dollars to our great enemy, Russia, to get natural gas that we could have sold them. He even said America's got natural gas, while we're supposed to defend Germany from Russia.
He went even further.
No, wait.
He went further than that.
I'm not done.
He called the European Union our foe.
Well, in terms of being slackers and wasting and being a burden on us, absolutely. And wait a minute, there's more. Don't interrupt me. the thing I loved about the whole thing was that the head of NATO, a guy from Norway, actually admitted that it was going to help. It was going to help NATO for him to say this, because if he's trying to defend Europe with NATO, and he's got about half the troops and materiel that he needs. So he actually agreed with Trump, and it was actually good and healthy for Trump to say this stuff. So I love Trump. He's a bull in a china shop, and he's just what we need. 2, this is really pisses me off, but it shows me what garbage the Democrats are. For the first time in 92 years, an American president doesn't bow to the fucking Queen of England. And the Democrats are all of a sudden, they're monarchists. They've gone from Trotskyite Maoists to now they're monarchists. Like, why didn't Trump bow to the Queen?
Oh, he walked in front of her, too.
And he walked in front of her. You know why? Because he's the president of the United States. Don't interrupt me. We're a republic. And now it turns out that all these liberal radicals I've been growing up with, oh, they're all monarchists. They want the American president to bow to queens. It makes me sick. Your hypocrisy of your party makes me sick.
She's a 92-year-old lady.
So the American president is supposed to bow to her? I'm sorry.
I didn't hear the bow part. I just saw the walking in front of her part. But okay, I'll take your word for it.
Thank God somebody walked in front of her. I'm an American citizen. I don't believe in the old order of aristocracy and royalty. Sorry, we settled that issue in 1776. And now the goddamn Democrats on CNN are all worried about it.
You think there's no special relationship between the U.S. and Britain?
What did I say that had anything to do with that?
Well, I mean, the Queen is part of Britain, is part of the United Kingdom.
We have an alliance with Britain that does not depend on the President of the United States bowing to a foreign monarch.
What does bowing signify? Subservience?
Yes, the American president is not supposed to bow, unlike that traitor that you had, Obama, who bowed to the king of Saudi Arabia.
I thought it was she bowed to somebody from Japan.
No, the first person he bowed to was the king of Saudi Arabia, and everybody said, Jesus, is he really a Muslim? And to make up for it, he started bowing to everybody. Oh. That guy, Obama, your traitor, he bowed to more foreign leaders than any president we've ever had. It was an embarrassment.
Well, what about holding hands with the king of Saudi Arabia?
Okay.
That doesn't count when Bush holds hands?
No, it doesn't count, Rick.
Holding hands?
No, it doesn't count, Rick.
All right.
It's okay. Bush didn't bow to the king of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I don't think bowing signifies subservience.
Well, we have a tradition. We have a
ceremony.
Tradition in the United States that American leaders do not bow to foreign monarchs.
Apparently,
that started in the Revolution. Americans are equal to all people. That's part of our tradition. And I'm not just making this up. As our protocol, their protocol may be that you're going to bow to their king. Our protocol is Americans don't bow.
You just said for 92 years we bowed.
We had idiots like Obama bowing.
Well, it's more than, Obama wasn't president for 92 years.
I don't know.
You said since 1926.
I don't know if Ford and Nixon bowed, but they obeyed these weird things about you don't walk in front of her. Let me put it this way. She deserves to be treated no better or worse than any other citizen. That's my position. And you Democrats are a bunch of hypocrites if you're going to complain about that.
Carol gives me shit when I walk in front of her. Carol walks more slowly than I do. And I agree, and it's just kind of like good manners to walk next to somebody you're with. But you're saying, nah, fuck you, old lady. You're 92 years old, you're slow, I'm going to walk in front of you. So it's not just good manners to walk next to the Queen?
No, I'm saying that the Democrats are making it an issue of protocol, that our president is just a clumsy oaf. And no, he has a perfect right to walk in front of people or next to him because he's an American president. And it's not a matter. If it's a protocol, then it needs to be. We need to re-examine that protocol.
All right, so fuck you, 92-year-old lady. We're just going to walk, however, because you're
No, these are heads of state. Our president doesn't bow to another head of state. If she wants to be a 92-year-old lady, then she can retire and go to a rest home. She's a head of state.
a ceremonial head of state. She has nothing to do with policy, as far as I know. She's a symbol.
Okay, that's irrelevant.
All right, I got a break.
All right.